You're probably sick of watching eye training videos by now, but it's currently 10 degrees colder than what it is in the Arctic outside. So let's just keep doing these for a bit. Anyways, the previous two videos were how to shoot in black and white so you can start to see highlights and shadows better, and then how sticking with a focal length will help you to frame better. Now we're going to talk about white balance, because white balance, next to like getting the exposure and the focus right, is by far the most important thing to get your eyes calibrated to. And the reason for this is because without calibrated eyes, your colors are going to be all over the place and probably not very good. Now, obviously, there are creative ways to do white balance, and that's a great thing. But today we want to cover how to actually start calibrating your eyes to see neutral white. Because from there, you can start being creative if you want to go warm or cold, magenta or green, all that sort of stuff. But we got to start with the basics first, right? So white balance in a practical sense is just really the image showing white without being tinted in any way. White balance in a physics sense is just an even reflection of all frequencies within the visible spectrum. So if you have an image that is skewed in any way, the reflections of that white are not going to be even, if that makes sense. Sorry, that was a lot of rambling. But before we get onto the exercise and show you how to change the white balance on your camera, I should probably explain what Kelvin is. Actually, I'm not going to explain it. I'll ask ChatGPT. So ChatGPT says, Kelvin color temperature is a way to describe the color appearance of light sources based on their temperature in degrees Kelvin, K. The concept is rooted in physics, specifically the behavior of black body radiation. Now, I don't think I'm qualified to be talking about black bodies, but I'm definitely qualified to explain why Kelvin is important and how you can adjust the Kelvin color temperature in your camera. So our eyes see a visible color spectrum, which is around under 400 nanometers and just a little bit above 700 nanometers. Basically, light is just a frequency like sound. It's just really, really high frequencies. So if you want, you can think of color like sound. So we could say that red is like the bass and blue is like the treble, because red is low frequency and blue is high frequency. So if we want to have a neutral image, just like sound, we don't want things to be all over the place. We want things to be nice and smooth and even. Only after that should we be making subtle tweaks to our taste. So to change the white balance on your camera, well, you're just going to have to Google it and find it, because I don't know what camera you're using. But on a Sony camera like this, you can hit the function button, and then there will be white balance in there. I think most cameras have a function button. And you can also map white balance to a button. Maybe it's already mapped, but that's not going to be this video. So in white balance, there's going to be a bunch of presets, like daylight, shade, cloudy, incandescent. And you can use those. They're basically just snapping to different points in the Kelvin scale. But you should have a setting on here just called Kelvin. And mine is here. It's called ctemp/filter. And if you click on that, now you have a little wheel to adjust, and it's in a number. So down here in the low section, like 2700, 3000, that would be for getting your white balance right in like a super warm incandescent light. Think like dining in a restaurant, right? And then sort of like 5,000 to 6,000 is what your outside daylight is going to be. And then, above that is going to be if you're shooting in really blue conditions. So I would get in the habit of just adjusting the color wheel. The nice thing is if you shoot on a mirrorless, you can adjust the color wheel until, what your eye sees starts to look pretty close to what the camera sees. That's the best way to do it, I think. If you haven't noticed, there has been absolutely no mention of auto white balance in this video until now. And that is because I want you guys to have full creative control of your photographs. And until you have a deep and intimate knowledge of white balance with calibrated eyes to see so, using auto white balance is just going to be a crutch, isn't it? before we get started on the exercise, I do need you to buy something if you don't already have it. And that is a white balance card. Now, you can pick these up on Amazon for like $5 to $10. This one's a little bit more expensive because it has color chips on it, but you really don't need this one. So just get like a white balance card. And what they are is they're just calibrated from the factory to have an even reflection. Now, you can use a white piece of paper, but I don't recommend it. For whatever reason, like white has failed me so many times. I think it's because like a lot of white things are just more prone to reflections. So you can get weird color casts onto the color white, whereas like gray seems to be a little bit more resilient to that. So I would just pick one of these up, and then, you know, like when we were actually doing the exercise, you are getting a true white balance when you pick that color. Okay, for the exercise, what I want you to do is have your little gray card and go take some pictures in a variety of lighting conditions and stick this bad boy somewhere in the scene where it's evenly lit and where the majority of the color temperature is, if that makes sense. So like if you want to take a picture that's near a lamp, put this near the lamp. If you want to take a picture that's outside, well, obviously this is going to be somewhere, anywhere, but just don't put it in shadows. We want this particular part of the card to be evenly lit. So no shadows and no weird color casts going on the gray card itself. Pretty simple. And once you've taken a variety of images with the color card, we're going to bring them into post-production software. Now, I like to use Adobe Lightroom, but I'll show you a free version that you can download for Mac and PC that will also work. So let's go into the computer. Okay, I think my screen is recording now. So here's an image inside my house, and there's the delicious little gray card over here. Now, for the exercise, we're gonna use our eyes first to see how close we can get to true white balance. Now, let me see if I can zoom in on this. Also, we wanna make sure that like the computer we're using doesn't have any like weird blue light, like night light filters on it. We don't want those because that's going to mess with the colors. And also try to do this on a like screen or laptop, something that you're going to use to actually edit the photos. Just in case the screen is a little bit off, then your eyes are going to be at least used to that screen, if that makes sense. Anyway, so for me, this looks a little too magenta right off the bat. So I'm going to bring this down. And then I think I'm going to warm it up a bit. Something like that. That's where I think it's going to be. Let's take a guess. So what we do is we can zoom in on this if we want. Press this little dropper here. And we go over here, and we're going to click on it and watch what happens on the temperature and tint. It's going to change. Hopefully by not a lot, but we'll see. Okay. Yeah, that was pretty good. So how off was I? I mean, that's pretty minimal. Not too bad. Not too bad. I'll take that. Okay, so now for this one. This one is going to be hard because we have blue light coming in from outside window, and we have a really warm lamp. Now, these situations are just straight up difficult for anything because you kind of have to pick one. So I'm gonna aim for the middle somewhere. I'm gonna say it's a little magenta, I think. Oh, this is a tough one. I'm gonna say that. We'll go with that. Final answer. 3000 minus 2. Let's click on it. Oh, I was way off. It thinks it's way more green. Okay. See, this is a tough one because your eyes are playing tricks with you. It's like, do you want to calibrate to this blue over here, or do you want to calibrate to this orange? I just threw this one in here as kind of like a trick question one. But let's do something a little more easy. This one again in my living room. I mean, this one looks ready for the art gallery as far as I'm concerned. Let's, man, I think that's pretty close already. That is, that's pretty close. I'm going to leave it as it is and just see. Yeah, that was like almost perfect, which almost never happens. Okay, so it was literally just, yeah, one point towards magenta, which is like almost imperceivably small. Okay, I did an outside one. Now, this is something you can do as well. You can shoot with the card first and then do like a clean photo after, as long as it's the same lighting conditions, right? So I'm going to move over to this one because this is the one I can actually see. This is tough because it's so bland out. It almost looks like black and white television, but I'm going to say it's a little too cold. But like, how far do you go? This is tough, right? Because it's so like monochrome already. I don't know. I'm going to say something like that. Now we can go back to this one. So I'm at 66 and +2. 68 and +3. That's pretty good. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So that's basically what we're doing. We're just trying to get our eyes calibrated to understand where the image is in terms of tint, because we're going to get a whole bunch of images in from different lighting conditions. And one day we're probably not going to have a gray card. So then we really need to rely on our eyes to figure out where things are from a neutral perspective before we start adding our creative flair to it. Let's move over to this piece of software here. It is called Raw Therapy, and I can leave a link in the description below. So let's move over to this one now. I brought the photos in. You can figure out how to bring the photos in. It's pretty easy. You just basically point to a folder. And then I'm going to actually raise the exposure on this. Where is that? Is that this? Yeah, there we go. Just going to raise it a bit. And then over here, we go to color. This is color. And then it's the same thing. We're going to get pick and then on to the gray card and boom. That's neutral. So yeah, you don't need to have a Lightroom subscription to do this exercise. Anyways, one more eye training video done for the books. Hope you guys are enjoying the series. And I truly think if you watch through all of these and do the exercises, you are going to be so much better off than I was when I first started off. I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.